23rd, and non-public meeting May 14th, May 7th, April 30th, and April 23rd.
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Make a motion to approve the consent agenda to include the Wink Fest Country Music, the SC Monster Truck, the Cheshire County DX Amateur Racing, and the Swanzey Home Day.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any public input?
Yes, sir. I thought you said DX Racing.
Amateur Racing, yes.
No, it's Amateur Radio Club.
Was that Radio Club? It says Racing on the Amateur Radio Club.
Wild bunch.
And it is. And we wanted to invite all you folks to it. We're always open having town officials come. So we'll send a notice over to the fire station and the PD too, if they wanted to drop by. This is a demonstration of all the amateur radio capabilities that we can do. We do it once a year as an emergency for it. And so thank you for signing up.
Where is that?
Right at the Potash Amphitheater, right across the street. And we'll be there on Saturday and Sunday.
This weekend?
No, the last full weekend, 24th, I think the date is
I
on
didn't see
it.
the date.
I don't have my calendar, but it's the 24th and 25th.
Yeah, and I apologize,
June.
these were just handed to me.
Thank you, Bruce.
Sorry, what was your name?
Bruce Bohannon, Bohannon.
Anybody else? Joe?
Railroad Street sidewalk extension. Last year, the sidewalk committee approached me about extending the sidewalk from Main Street to West Swansea down Railroad Street, crossing Eaton Road, and going across Summer Street. And the funds are gonna come from the snow sidewalk fund. The estimate of the project is $81,600. That includes granite curbing. Part of the decision to go with the granite curbing is because the bids came in very low on the North Winchester and California Street project. Both the sidewalk and the granite curbing numbers are really low. The contractor that's doing that work, the general contractor, J. Evans Construction, agreed to do the sidewalk for the same price. And then the granite curb company that is doing the work on North Winchester and California Street agreed to honor their price on that project for Railroad Street. This Gordy Aon has this estimate, and he's going to authorize the fund to be released from the snow sidewalk fund. I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention what's going to take place, and we'll be working on it shortly. DPW is going to do most of the work with J. Evans doing the concrete work, and I can't remember the name of the granite curb company out of Pembroke doing the granite curb.
Great.
So, just to clarify, so the guys that are on North Winchester Street that are putting the sidewalks over there in the curb, their prices came in really reasonable and low.
Yes.
So you asked them about the extension over here,
They
and they
don't know
agreed
prices.
to honor the same price on North Winchester Street, but over there.
Correct, and the line items for all the bids of the contractors that did North Winchester Street showed what they were charging for sidewalk and granite curbing. And J. Evans and the granite curbing company were lower on those particular lines as well, so. The $34.99 is a linear foot for granite curbing is
And no one can
half
touch
of what I
that.
see, no.
Nobody can touch
No,
that.
they were as high as $70 a linear foot. Initially, the sidewalk committee was not going to do granite curbing, but once I talked to Gordy Aon about that price, he said he definitely wanted to go with granite curbing because all the other concrete.
What was the other option, not granite?
Concrete reveal, so instead of granite curbing being out, it'd just be concrete edge, it's not.
So they pour the concrete sidewalk, it just sticks out.
Stick it up. a
But
little.
now we're gonna actually have a granite curb and then the concrete,
Correct.
which probably lasts a lot longer.
Yeah, the longevity is much better, it's much safer for as far as cars.
And we're gonna do the same way over there.
Yes.
Looks and everything is much better.
Yes, it's matching up with what they've been doing elsewhere.
Correct. And that's down the corner, if I'm at Wickham Hall, it's down that corner. right?
Yeah, from Main Street back towards DPW.
Yeah, I feel
to
like it's
Summer
Wickham
Street.
Hall, I got you.
A lot of people have been asking for, a lot of residents that walk in West Swansea have been asking for it. So it's more or less, I don't believe there's anything that needs to be authorized because the sidewalk committee will
They're the
make
ones
a
that-
request on the fund, it's more of an FYI.
And they're happy with the price and all that, and the
Yeah.
granite.
they've been asking for this extension for a while.
Pretty nice. That's a big bonus.
Anybody have any questions? Did we ever determine where the money's, the actual trust? Richard, do you know where the actual trust is?
Sure,
Where? You guys manage it?
yes. Sidewalk Committee, the Stone Trust, Stone left 2 trusts in his name. One is for Cutler School and the other is for sidewalks. And the town has, Joe and others, predecessors, have tapped that Stone Sidewalk Trust every year for extension of one or another, or paving parking lots for,
Yeah, can you explain the process? I know Gordy says he sent something over to
the usual process. The committee votes on it, and Gordy sends me, the vote and the requisition for the dollar amount. With documentation, so it's just a absolutely legitimate
Process, yeah.
requisition.
He said he's gonna be sending one for the North Winchester and California Street project. There's $150,000 from the fund going to help fund all the work that's being done in North Winchester and California, and will be coming to you shortly.
Okay,
Yeah.
But I've
just-
seen nothing, so I don't know.
Yeah, so Mike Brandon used to deal with all that,
Yeah.
and without him here, I've been kind of picking up some of that with the highway stuff, so
Yeah.
learning a little bit about
Gordy and I have been doing
it for a
this.
long time, yeah.
So Richard, where's the actual, what's the value of the actual trust?
Oh, I didn't come
It's gotta
with
be
that kind of information.
We'd have
It's
to look
gotta
that up.
be, huh?
We'd have to look that up.
It's gotta be close to $1 million. If
Is,
it's
I don't know.
is there a town report? on
probably
it?
not handy, but
Um,
unfortunately, 'cause I think
I can't, we handle
One right there.
70 different funds, so I wouldn't venture to stick. Yeah,
Because the line item
And
that we
that's
saw is
a
like
$22,000.
$250,000.
good enough for me.
That must be what the interest is, the interest that's accrued must be that 250.
I wouldn't say without looking.
Yeah,
Deep Bill tells me some years it does really well, others it
because this is pretty much going to exhaust that portion of it between both projects.
Well, then it doesn't make money neither.
Yeah.
The principal balance, as of last January 1st, is 1.7 million. The income balance, sidewalk, is $250,000.
52,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so that's the part that we're exhausting then.
The income,
Quite a
yeah.
number taken out.
That's invaluable.
1.7.
Let it work.
Yeah, exactly, that's what Steve Bill
Eventually
said.
they'll use it.
So there's really, it's there for making stuff, there he is.
There's a committee that manages it.
Now that you say bring up that part about using the 0.7 and the income.
Sly, is there a way to turn the scanner down a little right there? Because you're picking it up on the,
Shut it right off.
There you go.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Somebody else, yeah.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Good luck with the warrant. We'll, your representative.
Still suffering, Sly. No one cares. Nobody cares, Sly.
I offered to give you some exercise.
Look at this, look at, you brought me a chair. Do you know this is a special chair for veterans? Tell them which staff sat in that,
JFK.
JFK,
You had them all around the country.
all around the country.
Some Trump and
You
Rogers.
just sit in that chair.
We have this and the one all around the country.
That's right.
Look at this, oh my God, that feels good. Sly,
Have the
good
seat.
man.
Does it work?
Have the seat. Tell us what's going on in Concord.
Oh, I'm up already?
Yeah.
Maybe. What do you think? 'Cause that 0.7 million.
This is unreal.
What do you want to know?
Well, we want to know how your vote was to take away local control. And,
The one week that I attended, I voted to keep local control. That was the one with the parking. And that 163, Senate Bill 163, I will be voting against that. As removes the limitation on building permits that you guys could have, and if it's an issue.
So you vote no on that?
Yeah. Back in January, I guess, we were putting together the caucus's priorities, and Jason Osborne, the Republican head of the House, majority leader, he wanted to know what everybody thought, and then he came up with these priorities, that, you know, which was the contract for New Hampshire. And everybody said the same thing, where's local control? It's conveniently left off. So, quite a few of us did vote, or made known that we wouldn't support anything that was taking away any local control. So, and something that is interesting, you can go so far right that you end up on the left. And that's what's happened. That parking issue where you couldn't require more than one parking spot per unit. That had, I think it was like 95 Republicans for, 94 against. And then the Democrats all went for. So,
It's amazing.
yeah. But be careful what happens when the House switches sides, because if you lose local control, the state can do anything they want with housing. So,
Yeah, they're pretty much jamming it down the throats now.
yeah.
And the one size fits all doesn't really apply to towns like Swansea, unfortunately.
And there's so many issues. Joe left, right? Class 6 roads, you know, we've had those discussions in the past here. People trying to build a house on some property that's kind of landlocked because of the Class 6 road. It's going to be allowable if it goes through. So,
How does that work? Who would be responsible for the road? Would the town have to, that's gonna be a touchy thing, ain't it?
yeah.
Like, you know, who's gonna, when they wanna sue, when an ambulance can't get up there or something like that, right?
Right.
Sullivan's going through that right now on the property up there that folks want to build on a Class 6 road. But because it's not on a Class 5 road, they don't have enough road frontage. So they're going through that, because my son's one of the abutters that's involved in that. So yeah, that'll open up a lot of Pandora boxes.
There's a lot of issues out there. So,
Well, the people, I don't know if you remember, but it was about 3 years ago, there were people that wanted to build on Talbot Hill Road, and the zoning board voted against it. If they'd have allowed it, that was completely washed out
Yeah.
during the flood. And we have no responsibility to repair it.
Right.
They would have been,
Trapped.
literally, they would have been trapped.
And they would have had to come with the money to fix it, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking millions of dollars, right, to fix
I
that.
don't know,
Yeah.
but it'd be a lot.
That's unbelievable, Billy.
It's too bad.
but anyway, that's all we're doing with that. Trying to close a gap of $200 and something million that the Senate wants to spend in the biennial budget that we didn't approve. So, all things being equal, maybe we can get $100 million back. And it's not going to cost anything. It's just going to be, we'll accept what their estimated revenues are for that part. So, but there are some good things that we did that the Senate's putting back in, like the rooms and meals. They helped that again.
How does that work?
I don't know what the final thing is yet, but I think the House tried to pull it back a little bit from what they gave us last year. The Senate put it back.
What percentage do we get of
I
that?
think it's like 30 or something.
Yeah, it's 30%. It used to be a lot more, I think.
Well, when it first came out,
Yeah.
it's
So when I
supposed to be
send
all.
Yeah.
So when I send that big money in 30% every month, every 15th, when I send my big check in,
And they were trying to take that away from the towns receiving that aid back. That's
When you
what
say
that-
30% of the whole bundle, like of everybody?
Yeah, the
I
rooms
see.
and meals, so.
Yeah, because they just increased it, it's 9% or 8.5%, right? For-
We cut it back. Well, they cut it back last
Oh,
cycle. They went down to 8, I think,
8?
right? Was it 8.5?
I thought it was 8.5.
Might have been 9.
My accountant sends it out, so I don't really look. But I know it's a big number.
I just take half of that amount, that's what I tip at your place.
I always wondered where all that money went, what was I doing with it? So I didn't know if just the inspector got it or what. I mean,
What else? Yeah, 163 is the one that's coming up tomorrow, so that'll be a no for me. I don't know if it's gonna pass or not. So, I think the
We're not
moratorium
on
on-
that.
Which one was it?
163.
it's 163.
That's a moratorium on building permits.
Oh.
Take that away from you.
What is that actually about it? What is it, how does it protect us? In what way? I don't even know what
Well,
it
I
is.
mean, suppose all our services were totally saturated, like Troy with their sewer problems and the mill.
Okay.
Basically, they couldn't tell somebody, no, you can't. You know, you can't hook up. Well, I guess they probably still could say you can't hook up to the sewer, but you'd have to let them build and put in a septic maybe.
Ah,
But if the school was overcrowded, you know, I guess if the town decided that they just couldn't put in any more units, you couldn't do it. You know, if you said you wanted to have a moratorium, like 3 years to catch up, that wouldn't be allowed. So,
Chesterfield still has that.
they have a moratorium?
And they don't restrict, they don't observe it so much, but they do have it.
Yeah.
Six units a year. That's back from the 60s.
Wow.
But they don't necessarily observe it until they want to.
Hmm.
They won't be able to now if it passes.
There's all kinds of stuff coming. I hope it doesn't go through.
What's leading this?
Money. So, everybody's campaign is funded by builders and developers, things like that, so. In a perfect world, it would work. In an imperfect world, New Hampshire wouldn't be New Hampshire anymore.
Is there gonna be money for infrastructure improvements, grants?
And that's, you know, I think that's what everybody said, if we can get more carrot, less stick, you know. The Senate did put in some more money for the sewer, revolving funds and things like that, so with any luck, that'll help, but I think if they really wanted to increase development, they could do a lot more funding of utilities, schools, fire stations, police stations.
There's no move for that, it's just jamming houses.
It's easier just to take away the right to slow anything down.
Do you think any of the bills will be vetoed?
Yeah, I'm open, so. That's another interesting thing, the way politics is working is, it seems like some things have been softballed up to the governor so that she said she'll veto them, so she will, and, you know, because you don't want a rubber stamp. But they give her the opportunity to veto.
Selective.
Hmm?
I said selective,
Right.
both sides save face.
And in my one bill, I think it was 345 or 384, something like that, to try and limit welfare to residents of the town and maybe have limits on the amount that you would have to pay. That went to the Senate. It got the tabling committee or retained, and Jennifer Rhodes was trying to bring it over to the Senate, and I haven't been able to see where they've done anything with it. I was hoping it was going to be popped into the budget, but
Well, you know our situation.
yeah, we could save half of that. I don't know, what was it last year, 240,000,
We're gonna be over 3 this year.
over 3? You could build a fire station every year. Well, pay the bond. So,
Twice.
So I think you'd always have to pay maybe some of it.
Right.
But anyway, that's all we got.
What else going on?
I'm retiring. And posted a want ad in the Sentinel and Granite State. They've been telling people in the business, if we can't find anybody, commissioners had brought up that they're wondering if it was something that maybe the town is looking at as far as where you stand with West Swansea water in the next few years. You know, doing something together. So, just putting the bug in the air.
That's, we can't revisit it till 27.
Right.
It's worth a discussion. We are putting a TIF board together for that area, and we're putting a water committee together, smaller one, or small one, to be prepared sometime mid-year next year to really go forward. Underwood is still doing some engineering, or actually I guess they're determining what their costs are gonna be. And that would be again to plan maybe more strategically than we had time for last year. So, because that ceases development.
And it looks like we're getting the RDA grant for the precinct, for our pre-planning grant for the replacing the mains. So,
You have to replace the mains.
yeah, well, they're 80-something years old, so
Wood?
it's about time. Nope, asbestos cement.
Scott tells us that's perfectly fine.
It's probably the best material there is, but
Yeah.
it is what it is, so.
What is the length, how much of it has to be replaced?
We were just thinking about doing all the highways and Swansea Factory Road and Lake Street. Wilson Pond's already done, so it's about, I think the estimate was 5.7 million. So-
How many
You
miles?
want the town to take it over.
No, that's what I'm saying is that
Sorry.
How many miles?
we got that going on,
So it's,
so. I probably did at one time, but
when are you officially retired?
next week maybe?
Really?
We'll see.
Is this a retirement for something?
North-
I'll drive
North
around,
Swansea
yeah.
Water Fire Precinct.
I'll drive around with you. You don't have to get out, I'll do it.
Anybody have any questions for Sly?
That I can answer?
You're a politician, you can answer all the questions.
That's what I mean.
You still staying on as superintendent?
What's that?
Are you still staying on as?
It's clerk.
So,
Yeah. Do the paperwork. You were on water infrastructure with us, right? You still got all your stuff? That Don, you would put together?
Don did some really good work, with an engineering background. Last time it came up, we dug up some stuff. He remembered some stuff. The problem that time was there was a large grant, the MTD grant,
Yeah.
and then they found the water was clean. And we had a deal. I mean, we could have done it.
Yeah.
And then the damn water came up clean. And SOL. So,
You had too much water. Not enough MBT.
what a time. Oh well.
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate
I
it.
got something else I gotta print here.
Steve?
Well, Richard's here and Mark. We have two items. One is the Lucy Carpenter Trust, which Richard can best address, as the memo that we handed out is his. And the other is the matter of new perpetual care accounts for the cemetery.
Can we deal with that one first?
What?
Can we deal with that one first?
Sure, it's the easiest. I think the memo, which is short and it's to the point, lays down the case pretty well. And the history of this is about, I may be off on my timing, 30 years ago, we gave up, about 30 years ago, the only maintenance done was done for people who had paid into their trust fund. That was given up and the town took over taking care of all plots and all cemeteries. And the number of new perpetual care accounts, and this is per Lee, which is pretty good source, it went down from in the 50s to down in single digits most years. Not only that, over the past few years, the amounts going into these trusts has gone down from an average of about $200 to $300 to an average of just over $100. $100 to account for these things is greater than the cost, is greater than the revenue earned on them. And the memo goes through a bunch of detail as to that. We have three options, and I discussed these three with Cordell Johnson. Option one, taking it from one end to the other, is to set up minimum. The minimum would have to be about $1,800 to cover the cost of taking care of one plot, which is about $50.
So is that the minimum in the trust or the minimum contribution?
The minimum contribution for an individual to make. You could set it anywhere you want, but there have only been a handful of contributions at $400 over the past 10 years. People just aren't paying into it. And it keeps getting smaller and smaller each year. It finally struck me this year, or this past year, when contributions got down to $50. It's costing the town money to hold this. So you could set a minimum, but I don't think anybody would pay it. The second option, and many towns have done this, is to set up a non-restricted fund, meaning both principal and interest could be used by the town. And the accounting for it is much easier. Cordell tells me that we have to go through a warrant article for that. I didn't get into the whereases and what fors, but if he says we need a warrant article, I'll take it to the bank. I don't think enough people would pay into it to pay the legal fees for it. So the third option is to just shut them down.
And what happens if we shut it down? Where does the money go?
We don't take money in. There is no money.
So they're basically zero balance now because we've used all the funds?
Well, the funds that are there, we've got to keep, and we can't get rid of.
Okay.
But taking in new funds would cease, and we would like it retroactive to the first of the year. Any funds that have come in, of which I'm aware none have, but I'm sure a few have, would be refunded. And we just shut it down. Make life easier. And that's the long and short of it.
So the towns that do the non-restricted fund, how do they set those up? If I understood you correctly, you're concerned about the legal expense to set it up? The non-restricted?
Well, we'd have to figure out how we craft a warrant article and whatnot. And then we set it up, and all funds coming in, and if funds have come in so far this year, they would have to go back and come back in again, would go in a non-restricted account. So you could spend the principal. The take last year was, I believe, off the top of my head, it's in the memo, was $1,250. Running a fund for $1,250 is not a smart thing.
Sure. Again.
I hate leaving money on the table, but to have it on the table, you gotta put in more money is kind of silly.
I get it.
So we would ask for a motion to do that. I'm not,
So the motion would be to eliminate. Because no, it wouldn't be eliminated, because those funds stay. So it's essentially not to accept any additional contributions.
yeah, I would recommend you table it, and we will get Cordell to draft the resolution.
But is the concept correct, that it would essentially be that we would no longer accept
No.
donations? Right.
Perpetual Care Trust.
Yeah, okay. Any questions? Jim? All right.
And I will get it and forward it to Lori, and it'll go in your next meeting.
Yeah, we could work on it. So, any questions? Sly?
Could we supplement the fund with something like increasing the charges for cremations and burials? Because
On that point, when I spoke with Lee, which took a
Careful now. There's a red light behind you.
but I had a great chat with Lee, and Lee was all for shutting this down, but he wants to come in and talk to you all about resetting rates, which is precisely what Sly brought up. When he comes in is beyond my control.
He'll be coming in this summer.
Yes,
To talk about that, to have it implemented for 2026.
I believe that's his goal.
Yeah, so do it now while you can.
personal experience, Rochester Cemetery was $450 for a weekday cremation burial, $550 on the weekends and holidays. And I think I saw Lee down here last week, and I think he said it was $100.50 or $125, whatever he was getting.
It's way low.
Yeah.
And
Take a couple hundred off of that and help out this, or another account, needs it out. So,
but that is not the trustee's area. So I beg to stay away from it.
All right. Any further discussion? So you're gonna have Cordell draft, or you'll work with Lori to
I'll
draft?
work through Lori and we'll come up with a proper wording. I probably should have done that before,
We did one, I think 2 years ago, for range, it was something similar.
Just speak up.
Questions. We worked with one similar, so we can work on it there.
Great. All right. Thank you, Steve.
but. Richard? Lucy Carpenter.
Mr. Chairman, ready?
Lucy, or Lucy.
You have a document before you which is labeled, I believe, draft with a certain date.
Well, this is what they have.
Okay. Labeled.
But it's the same letter.
Yeah, okay. Just a moment's background, I told Michael Brantley that trustees would take up this consideration, and the Board of Selectmen has considered the matter in the past at the time of land transfers and the like. The board agreed that a committee ought to be established to develop procedures and criteria for the new method of using the Carpenter funds, the Carpenter Trust funds for the benefit of the needy of Swansea. I told Michael that the trustees of trust funds would give a crack at it, and that is the document that you have before you, which is not exactly a clear and distinct set of recommendations, but it's a bunch of considerations with a proposal, in fact. We agree with the board that setting up a dedicated committee of 3 people, maybe more, but at least 3, is appropriate. And we agree that there should be a select man or designate. There should be a trustee of trust fund or designate, and that that Edna, as the, not human resources, but
Benefits.
as the coordinator, town coordinator, that she be the 3rd person. So that is number 1. We agree to establish.
So the committee would be what is her role? Human resources?
Services.
Services.
Human services.
Human services coordinator, whomever's in that position.
Whomever, yes.
Would be, and then a member of the board of trustees or their designee, and then a member of the board of selectmen or their designee.
Correct.
Okay, and when would this be established?
That is at your beck and call, your decision. We are now recommending, with a bunch of considerations, which is really the reason.
Are you anticipating that it would be this year?
Pardon me?
Are you anticipating that it would be formed this year?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
And what would be the charge of the committee? What would be their role?
The charge of the committee would be to oversee the distribution of Carpenter funds, to whom, how often, how long, how big, etc. Make all those tough decisions, which we touch on here, ways of making those determinations, and to develop more stable procedures for considering applicants, for determining the need, and so forth.
And who would provide guidance on that with all your experience with the fund, you and Steve in particular? Would guidance come from you as to how the methodology should be developed?
We are giving that responsibility to this dedicated committee.
But who's going to guide them?
Cordell Johnson, for want of a better, Edna has to be the linchpin to this. Edna or her replacement has to be the linchpin. We don't have access to welfare records or needs and the like as trustees. All we can say, we manage the money, as with every other 70-odd funds that we manage the money, and we look for an orderly distribution in response to a reasonable documented requisition. That's our job. The subcommittee, which includes one of us, one of you, one of human resources, has to make all those determinations. I mean, there is no guidance except for Edna's experience with dealing with the needy of the town. And so much of this really does pass to her expertise.
What's the current balance in the fund?
Sorry?
Current balance?
Current balance, the funds spins out of between 70 and 85,000 a year. So it's quite a bit of money. We are recommending, I'm now bypassing my document, we are recommending that any allocation be limited the first year to $10,000 in assistance.
Any specific? That mean a specific allocation or in total?
To an individual. 10,000 per individual for the first year, to be followed up with 5,000 for each of 2 successive years, and then we cap it at a 3-year assistance. That's a suggestion. We would look to this.
So there is some of that type of guidance in this memo?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So I remember we gave $500. Was that where it came from?
Eyeglasses is not here.
We haven't given anything out from Lucy.
Except, sorry, you are right. We did have a request from, came through selectmen for hearing aids for
Yeah,
the
that's what it
individual.
was.
Yeah.
But we allocated that to another Carpenter Home Assistance Fund, which preserved the Lucy Fund intact, but, you know, bypassed all this.
But it's something like that. I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
just asking for
absolutely.
reference.
This is the Charles Carlton Fund for the Aged and Infirm, is the way it's listed in town records. So that's what
I'll let
we,
you get back on track. Thanks,
Yeah.
Richard.
Bill, look at this memo, which I'm sorry you didn't know. It wasn't out before the meeting. And it's an attempt to put some guardrails and to give some guidance. We thought about it long and hard and went back and forth. Edna was a great help. She really knows her stuff. And we decided that it'll have to be an iterative process, and this 3-committee board would be it that does it. This is not part of the trustees' responsibility. We were asked to take on a task to try and define it. Cordell brought in a lot of specific beacons that you can use related to RSAs. Mark brought up another measure, the ADLs, adult daily living.
activities of daily life.
Activities, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And there are measures out there. You just have to see how the requests come in. But it's meaningful to the town because it could, you know, spend 50, 60, 70,000 each year that the town would not necessarily have to spend. So it should be organized and pushed forward. And see how it goes on a trial basis. And to put absolute limits on it now, we'd be scratching our heads for the next year.
If I can turn to the document for just a second, on the first page, the important paragraph, the bullet point, is the idea of following Lucy's will. How do we determine who is incapable of caring for himself or herself? That is the criteria. Initially for admission to the Carpenter home, but now we are the follow-up agency for the Carpenter home. So how do we determine that? That is an important issue, and that's where the activities of daily life come in. Cordell provided us with several criteria, and assisted living homes and nursing homes all have criteria for who gets in and who stays out. And we have listed as many as we had available to us at the time. So that's number one. That's an important consideration, and that's what the 3-person committee needs to weigh, is this person capable or incapable of caring for himself? And how do we define that? Does he need a ramp to get in his house? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's number one. And then number two, on the second page, other criteria to consider, including the following. This is where I think, Selectmen, I would like to just call your attention to some of these issues so that you too can provide some guidance. Determination of financial need. Well, there we will look to Edna, and I just listed there the current definition of poverty level, $15,650 per annum income for an individual. Is the national poverty level, or $21,150 for two. So I pass that one off to Edna. Allocation of assistance. This is where the formula I just gave you, $10,000 for the first year, $5,000 for 2 successive years. Was listed. Third bullet point, should we make the distribution a flat rate? Now that's an important issue. It would make the administration much easier if anybody who came to us and said, yeah, this person is needy, it would make it easier if we just said, yeah, we can give you 10,000 or 20,000 or 15,000 for this first year. In the end, we did not make that recommendation, but I put it to the selectmen to come back and say, yeah, that would make it much simpler. So we decided that, you know, some people have big needs, other people have small needs, and we decided we'd be flexible and just take it on a case-by-case basis. But that issue is out there, and I think Cordell was recommending a flat rate of assistance as well. And, you know, there certainly are arguments in favor of that. I think having 1 year's experience will help us to come back with a recommendation. Residents, we are accepting the fact that some Swanzey tax-paying residents actually live in an assisted living facility in Keene, or a nursing home in Westmoreland, or whatever. So we are recommending flexibility in terms of residency. But taking
That's one-
responsibility for
That's
Swanzey
one that
residents.
we would definitely want our attorneys to look at because of the current situation that we're undergoing. So we maybe end up more specific.
I'd be glad to have somebody, third, fourth, fifth opinion on this, yes, for sure. I mean, that's an important issue. Yes, and since we do have people residing in Swansea at motels, et cetera, who may be eligible, that's an important consideration. Applicant must have exhausted every other funding means before becoming eligible. Applicant should be required to fill out forms, blah, blah, blah. Last point I would ask you to consider is the issue of publicity. How do we make this known? Do you wish to make it known in year one? Do we say, we now have $15,000 available for every individual, for whoever meets our criteria in year one? I think not, but you know, Edna has a steady flow of people who need assistance, and I think from that pool, we will make available these new and additional funds, rather than saying there's a pot at the end of this rainbow, and here's the application form. But that's an informal suggestion or recommendation. We would look to you to support that information. I think publicizing it right away as come get it would be a mistake.
Build it and they will come.
Yeah, they will come, that's right, absolutely. So that concludes my presentation. The heart of the matter is to name this committee, and you can give us whatever deadlines.
Is there a member of the board that is interested in being on the committee?
The board, the trustees of trust funds have already chosen their representative, and that would be yours truly in year one.
Great. Well, we'll talk about it. We've got a tight schedule today, deadline, but
Okay,
we certainly can make a decision next week.
great.
And then the third person is our current human services coordinator. So
Correct.
it just depends upon which of my colleagues are interested.
Yeah, I want to emphasize the trustees will give a person to the committee, but the trustees are not responsible for this administration of the trust. The board is your board. And it would be against, or whatever you call it, charter. I mean, we're the custodians of the funds, we're not the administrators. We only did this at the request of the town.
It's a great report, both of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cordell was very helpful.
Yes, I second the motion.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. We'll see you on the 24th.
Good. Those are yours, Sue.
Thanks, Steve.
Did you have a question? Or would you leave?
No, I'll question with Mark between us, how to between us.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so next item on our agenda is to appoint the alternate to the board of, or the alternate trustee to the trustee of the trust fund,
Yeah.
which was done, we haven't quite figured out the date yet, but we'll. it's
January
effective,
30th.
we're gonna check on that.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we'll make it effective as of today and modify it if we need to, unless you've got something.
No, we just had that, well, the resignation memo that went out. I think it's in here.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, but did we want to reappoint
yes,
Cindy?
yeah.
Do we want a motion now to reappoint her, or do we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just check.
All right. So
What am I doing, Mark first, or?
we'll do Mark first. So do you want, do you guys know what transpired, Jim? With regard to trustee of the trust funds?
No, I don't.
Mark, do you
I
want
kept you informed.
No, I hear you. I thought we had it planned out well, but I'm not sure our dates quite coincided.
I guess just real quick, at the end of last year, I decided that I didn't want to be a member of the board necessarily in that capacity. So I asked the board to kind of look to find a replacement for me. In doing that, they did find a replacement. In the interim of that period, I said I would be willing to stay on as an alternate. Certainly I wasn't abandoning the board in any way, shape, or form. I just, my lifestyle changed with my wife retiring, and even being on the board, there were some things I really like and enjoy, and some things I don't want any part of. And quite honestly, I've done a lot of regulatory reporting through software in my life, and I didn't want any part of the MS9s and MS10s and that stuff. So that was my decision. Cindy was brought on, I think it was January 30th. It might have been the day she was sworn in. That was a date that was passed around, and we just pretty much assumed I was the alternate from that point on, not realizing that there was something more official. So that's where we're at. So I'm still on the board as an alternate, once you guys approve it, I guess. I like working with the team. They've said likewise, something's going on there.
Well, I know they've enjoyed having you, because Steve has told me that repeatedly.
I probably bring in a slightly different perspective. There's like,
Yeah.
different background. That's how it works, right?
So the concern is with regard to the filing period. So we just need to make sure, maybe we should hold off on Cindy, but we can certainly have Mark as an alternate. I just want to be sure we're not in violation of filing requirements for the position. Because the January 30th was a day before the filing period ended. So I'm just wondering whether that position should, if we go with January 30th.
The trustees are recommending her fill that vacancy, correct?
Correct.
So she would fill it.
But she might have, but if we use January 30th, my question is, would she have only filled it till town meeting, and the position should have been posted for a 2-year term?
Yes. So she should have technically ran in March, right?
Unless the appointment was made as of February 3rd. If it was made as of February 3rd, then we're outside of the filing period, and she would serve until town meeting of 26.
Mhm.
Well, I just sent the resignation letter in. You can take that as the date of the letter of my resignation.
No, that doesn't help us. So I think, I think this is making a mountain out of a molehill, but at the same time, I don't really want to see that we've done something incorrectly. But if we
I
make it
think
as
we
a,
need her to be appointed though. and
but
then-
if we appoint her as of February 3rd,
Mhm.
then it's outside of the filing period, and she could be appointed through town meeting of 26.
Correct.
And then it would go back on the ballot for a 1-year term to fill out Mark's original 3-year term.
I think that's how it would work, yes.
Okay? You guys comfortable with that?
So we're just doing Mark?
We'll do both, but we'll do Mark because it's not time sensitive. It's time sensitive as of January 30th. Okay.
Make a motion that we appoint Mark Valera as an alternate for the trustee of the trust fund
How's that?
as of January 30th, 2025.
Great.
Second.
So the question as an alternate, would that be done on an annual basis, Richard?
Yes,
Okay, so he would serve until town meeting of 2026, and then there would be an opportunity to fill Mark again, or,
either town meeting or the January 30th deadline, anniversary.
we try to time them, all of them, the zoning board, planning board, conservation to town meeting.
Town meeting, fine. Yep.
Okay, so through town meeting.
Through town meeting of 2026.
Okay, you all right with that?
Second.
Did we totally confuse you?
His term will be until the end, until,
Town meeting of 2026?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
okay.
And
Cindy would be yes.
February 3rd.
February 3rd.
Make a motion.
What do you think on that, Sly? Does that
Hang
make
on.
sense?
Yeah.
Do you know it better than I do?
No. Are alternates on the ballot or no?
No.
This is just an extra.
Yeah.
I wonder if they should be on the ballot.
Well, that's a question for another day.
Right.
But alternate for planning board and the other boards are not on
Not on
the
the
ballot.
ballot.
Make a motion that we reappoint Cindy Cordy. What's it?
I had reappointed, I thought she was already appointed,
Okay.
so.
Make a motion that we appoint Cindy Cordy as of February 3rd, 2025, to trustees of the trust fund until town meeting 2026.
Great.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
And then we'll sign the document that's in there, right?
Yeah, and I misstated it, so we're gonna do some whiteout on that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put that on top, because I realized
Because
that.
then she'll vote.
Okay,
for
so
all
you're-
of it.
Sorry about this.
That's all.
So you're official, Mark.
I
Congratulations.
felt official anyway, but thank you.
You look more official, but now that we've done this.
Yeah, yeah. Good thing we have a meeting tomorrow.
Make a motion that we appoint Alan Goss to the Rail Trail Advisory Committee.
Gross. Misspelling.
Gross, Alan Gross.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
is
The
he
big
an
one.
alternate to this committee, or is?
No, he's on the committee. An official member. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Pleasure to see you.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Richard.
And I'll get into it.
Thanks a lot for all you're doing.
Okay.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Is there a term limit on
No,
Alan's?
we'll have to, Lori will correct.
Term limit?
Yeah, it would be for a specific
For
term.
Alan?
Is that in the flag? Can I just see that? Maybe because I'm not, I think that's town clerk. right?
Okay, can we go to the July 4th?
There's no term limit.
Right?
Yep.
Yep.
Right, yeah.
Make a
So we'll have
motion.
to check on that. Yeah, okay.
Due to the 4th of July falling on a scheduled half-day for the most town employees, I move to authorize the town departments to close at 1 PM on Thursday, July 3rd.
Second.
So I just had a question on that. Originally, I thought it was town hall employees, so how does this affect other departments? Is recycle, I don't know, I don't go on a Thursday.
They don't.
I think it
They're
should
not
be,
open.
I think it should be at the department head's
Discussion.
discretion.
Police department's not going.
Right, police department's.
Fire
Fire
department's
department's
probably
going.
going. Well, they're probably going.
Oh, come on now.
They're gonna go home.
I don't think so.
They might not.
On a bet? On a bet?
All right, I got a buck on it.
Okay.
I'll be in touch with Eric.
Yeah.
So how would we better word this then?
I guess I should have worded it, so to say, instead of town employees, I don't have the document, in front of me. I can't see it.
How about I just, at the discretion of the department heads, just add that in there.
Yeah.
think we leave it alone.
You skipped over.
That's because you were worried about the term for the, we're gonna skip over this. We're gonna skip it, Lori. We're gonna skip it. So, all right, so why don't you talk to us about what you want to be designated to sign?
Whoa, this is your bond.
That's right.
Everything's in here, so.
You don't want your signature.
um,
Oh, whoa, take this.
Yeah, so read your packet, so we have to go through all of those resolutions, okay? And that's the loan agreement for the bond for the fire station, and what's the other terminology? Okay. Okay, yeah, so we need, I'm gonna give you this folder, and I think Bill's the only one that needs to sign it, but we need a motion from the board that, you're all in agreement with every one of the resolutions in this loan agreement, which I copied and pasted them in here, just so she can incorporate them in the meeting minutes, and then we would need a motion from the whole board to accept that with each of the resolutions as stated.
So the motion as written.
Mhm.
Okay.
Question on this one. This seems to not flow to the next page.
So the loan agreement is right here. So basically, you guys are gonna look through this, and then you're gonna have to make a motion to each of those resolutions in the agreement. And there's 4 copies that just Bill will sign. So. let's see.
These have all been reviewed by Renown Bond
These were
Council.
sent to us from the bond council, yeah. And they have to be completed by June 13th, I believe. So this is one copy, Jenny. And then
Wow.
just Bill will sign, don't date it. She specifically said don't date it.
So we're gonna sit here and read this up there, right?
No, I mean, I sent it to you in the email.
I read it.
Yeah.
You did?
It was in my email.
That's all.
But you were copied on that email.
I was.
My feeling is always if the attorney's drafted it.
Sure.
I just,
Well,
I don't
what am I
want
gonna
these
know
to
more
get
than
mixed
that?
up, because I have four copies that I have to get back to
Okay, we can do it tomorrow.
Okay, so.
So you just need the motion.
mhm,
Okay.
And then he'll sign the paper.
mhm.
This one, number one.
That's
This one. I move to authorize town administrator Lori. Ooh, put my finger.
Grab the
Are we there yet? Or was it, wait, the first one, so, okay, so on the second page right here,
You want us to do,
under new business,
we're just gonna go in order. but-
oh, no, that was a different, man, you skipped right over that.
No, we didn't, we're doing it now.
Okay, that's not for the bond, this was for the designation of authorities for the clean water SRF
Right,
one.
and that's designating you to sign on our behalf,
Not the bond, that has
Yeah,
nothing.
not the bond, but
Yeah,
these
so,
other projects.
exactly, so the other projects are gonna be the stormwater asset management, the Weber Hill slope stabilization, California and North Winchester street improvements, energy efficiency and solar array, and the comprehensive wastewater treatment facility study. So that's what I need authorization for. So yeah, you are right on that one. And then we'll go on to the bond one.
Right.
Okay.
I move to authorize the town administrator Lori and
Radiola.
Radiola here as the designated representative for the town of Swanzey for the following projects: stormwater asset management, Weber Hill Road slope stabilization, California and North Winchester Street improvement, energy efficiency and solar array, and comprehensive WWTF study.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Now we'll go to the bond.
Okay, now to the bond.
which you've already addressed.
Yeah, and there was one part here, because it is a lot of material there. And this was sent from the bond council, so there was one section to just make sure, it says there's several matters that we would like to bring to your attention. First of all, it says to examine Exhibit A in the loan agreement, which sets forth the principal amount of the bonds, which you obviously are aware of, that will be sold to the bond bank and establishes the schedule for principal payments. And then additionally, you should review Section 1D of the loan agreement, which establishes the maximum interest rate cost. So, that's,
Do we need to read the resolved paragraphs?
I don't think we need to go through all of them, but you guys need to be aware of each of them, and, because that's what you're voting on. And that's what the motion should say, that you're, how we have it worded there, that you agree with all of the resolutions.
I'll just confirm that. That's right. Everything's for the two and then.
Two, required by the board resolution.
Just the one that starts, see how,
Number 2 ends with required by the bond resolution.
no, it's not a number, it's resolved. It's one of the resolutions.
Okay, I can send you this document, so you have that. And make a copy.
It's what was copied and pasted into the
packet, so that must have got missed. It might have got missed.
So the next line starts with
What bond prices have gone up?
substantially reform.
Really? I said bond prices, 5.75.
What?
Good, it's looking like.
5.75.
Should have just borrowed it from Mark.
At that
What was the
rate,
last big bond?
at that rate, I would have done it.
Sorry.
And the three? What would that been for? Dam, no, we never bond for the dam, right? Those,
Because of the way the
What
motion
was
is
the
stated,
last
it's
three?
as stated in the loan agreement.
Those were threes,
Yeah.
just better than we had
It
the threes.
says,
never a 5 point.
need a
No.
motion to adopt the
But you can
authorization
refine
of bonds
this.
as stated
Yeah.
above.
I'll do a 5-year bond, 5.5.
5 year, of course you would. Interest only.
New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank with the following resolutions.
Do you get a chance to read it?
I'll have to consult with my fellow trustees.
We'll throw in perpetual care of cemetery plot of your choice.
All right, go ahead with discussion.
I move to adopt the authorization of bonds as stated below as documented on the certificate of vote regarding authorization of bonds with the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank with the following resolutions.
And we can just, as noted, or do you need to?
I think that's fine,
As noted,
as stated in the loan agreement.
as stated in the loan agreement.
So change this to the following resolutions from the following, or we can list the following.
That's not what it
I don't
says.
think you need to.
So
No,
with
not in the
the
loan
resolutions
agreement. It's
as
based on
stated
these-
in the loan
these
document.
In
resolutions.
the loan agreement,
It's not,
in the loan agreement.
So
it really works.
I think,
This really works.
I think,
Doesn't believe that.
no, the motion refers to these here, doesn't refer to the loan agreement. The next one refers to the loan agreement.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just asking,
So
do these need to be read into the record, or can they be copied
I
and
don't think
pasted?
they need to be read into the minutes.
So we're following resolutions as noted in.
In the packet.
Yeah,
So this one's.
that's good. You all set with that?
Number second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We can,
He didn't change that, it was just how the first motion was stated, the second one is the loan agreement.
yeah. You ready?
Do I have this motion correct then?
This one.
What do you have? It should just be what's listed in here, right, in the packet?
Yeah, because the motion references the resolutions, the four resolutions, four that come right after it. And the motion referenced
Right,
those.
and if you're done with the organization of bonds as stated in the loan agreement.
Or packet.
What? No. Did this language come from Arnell
No,
or Andrew?
no, I made this. All they need is a vote from the board stating that you've adopted the bond resolution with the fall, and that you are aware of all the,
Yeah, to the four resolutions.
yeah,
Yeah, that's basically what,
So that's what we just did.
yeah.
okay, so now we go with the loan agreement.
I move to approve and sign the loan agreement with the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank for the purpose of furnishing a new fire station.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Let's get to, okay, then we go to congressionally directed. So the next is congressionally directed spending, designation of authority. We're still working through that. Lori's been working very hard on that.
It's all done,
It's all done?
yeah.
We finally got it?
I can, once you guys approve me, I can submit it tomorrow.
Great. So this was money that Senator Shaheen had allocated for us 3 years ago, something like that, 2 years ago. It's about $200,000
For what?
for the fire station.
Oh, this is the bottom of that, okay.
Do you want that in this minutes to Senator Shaheen?
Oh, sure, we should credit Senator Shaheen.
200,000?
Yes. Used to be called an earmark.
And yeah, it's the, we've been obligated that money. I found the email that says we've been obligated, but then nobody ever filled out the application because the fire station.
Kevin not getting voted in.
Exactly. So now this is the application, so we may not get it, but we're gonna try to get it.
Right.
So give him credit in the minutes.
Several years ago.
And send it to her. She knows.
Yeah. She's actually come to town several times, which is quite an honor.
She came here?
Absolutely.
She sat with you?
She did. Or I sat with her. She didn't sit with me.
Did she like you?
She loved me.
She did.
I don't get it.
I don't either. It worked.
I move to authorize the town administrator, Lori, say your last name, yeah. Radiola. For designated representative for the town of Swanzey and to sign all necessary documents for the submittal of the grant application for the new fire station.
Second.
So which documents am I signing?
None for this time. The bond ones.
Yeah, okay, so it's not, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
You're earning your money tonight, buddy.
Right.
I recommend
Did I just read
raise.
that?
Oh, you did, okay, so, now it's up to Selectman Tempesta.
Isn't that great how she worded that?
I know,
I was so impressed with that.
it's the best part of the whole packet.
Well, Jimmy's here, you might be interested in this, Jimmy. We did move in a good positive direction. We picked, the worst of the worst, and we sent out letters.
For people that don't know, can you expand on that so they understand what the process was?
Yeah, I just gotta be careful that I don't say addresses or nothing like that, right?
Just the concept.
Concept. The houses, the places that are, there's a lot of stuff out front, and everywhere, right? We need to clean that up. There's a lot of things that I think that in the past, we just have to be a little more aggressive on, so I took a hold of it and I started getting people moving on it, and with this team and Laurie's help, we've established a letter to go out to all of these places. We didn't hit them all, we hit the 5 worst that we think are. Actually, there's one more gonna be added, which would be Wilson Pond area. So we got that out, it went out registered, right?
It's certified.
Certified. We haven't got any responses back. I think we gave a 14-day response. We need a response from these people. And I just wanted to just keep everybody up to date that we are moving in a good direction. We're gonna see what comes back, but we're gonna go to the end with this and keep going. We're gonna make a statement, hopefully, and get these things done.
Giving them the opportunity to get the stuff cleaned up and get the properties cleaned up
That's
before
right.
we have to pursue legal.
That's right. That's right. Hopefully, we don't have to go that way. Hopefully, you know, we're trying to work with them and see if we can get the properties cleaned up in an easy way. But we are prepared to take it a step further, and we will go that route if we have to. So, it's just time now, right? We're waiting, right, Laurie? And Laurie was a big part of this, and she stepped right up at the plate with me to help me. Thank you for that.
So just on that, does our zoning support this? I don't think I ever read anything specific. And to give you an example, last community I lived in, there was nothing that would deter from a nice environment in your neighborhood. It had to be beyond the property setback line, not directly visible from the road. Meaning if you drove down that road, it wasn't an eyesore. That was in the ordinance, the town ordinance. The exception to that was horse trailers. It just happened to be a very horse-oriented community. Didn't mean that you couldn't have stuff. It just meant that it had to be behind a fence or something, shrubs or something more protected, right? So I don't know if our ordinance supports, how much it supports that. And it's good to know, because if it doesn't, then let's get it in front of the planning board so we can make this part of our ordinance.
Good.
I think it probably already is. I haven't had a chance to look through all the ordinances, but I'm going off of Chris.
Right.
He's been working a lot
Okay.
with Chris Levy,
Yep.
our code enforcement zoning officer. But there are, New Hampshire statutes that you can't have a junkyard. I know in other towns, you can't have more than 3 unregistered vehicles, and that might,
Swanzey's too.
so,
Yeah.
so,
And
Swanzey is?
yeah, and it,
Two?
the RSA specifically states junk,
right.
and it lists it all out, and,
Well, ours are unregistered.
And just because the car has a plate on it doesn't mean
and
it's
also
registered.
health hazards, so the health inspector, if it becomes that bad, or it's, a concern for the health
I
of.
commend this effort, I really do. I love it here. This is one of my sore spots, because where I came from, this did not exist. So,
I just say that, maybe like Water's Edge, for instance, the people that were stopping to visit the guy that was sick before he passed, they're all in there now living,
They're all up.
are in there living now full time. If you come down past your road by the shoe store at between 5:30 and 6, people are coming in with knapsacks. And they're in there all night, and 5:30 in the morning, they get up and they get back on the street again, so it's
squatter's house.
yeah. It's more than just a
Squatter's
job.
house, sounds like.
You're actually in the house that was condemned years ago.
Well, Keene used to have the no more than 4 unrelated people in a unit, and the legislature's in the midst of dispensing with that.
So, I guess a little bit, from public input, I think some meetings are answered anyway. The property on Wilson Pond Road, where the person has filled it with toys and things that.
I walked it yesterday.
You did see that. How you
Is
like
that in
that?
the town's,
I walked right down it.
Yeah,
is that the right of way?
it's a right of way. So be careful walking down that, because I've been told that there are holes with fence netting, and if you
I
step
had a
in
hard
the
time
wrong
getting through it,
spot.
but I got through it. I made it all the way to the
Yeah.
water, and there's boats actually sinking in the
Well,
water.
there's boats have axle grease on them, they're,
It's pretty
it's a
bad.
real problematic person.
Nobody,
But anyway, the house across the street, the trailer, I
For
believe the
sale.
person died, it's for sale, and the realtors,
Stopping, they don't wanna buy it because they have the deed, they wanna have the right of way to
you
do
got the
that.
story. so.
I went through the whole thing and it just needs to be fixed. It's just easy. I mean, no taxes are being paid on that if somebody else owned it.
As long as we have fee simple in it, then we own it, we can clean it up. Unfortunately, when Judge Ruoff made his decision, he allowed them.
To use it, you said.
I just reread it, it wasn't quite that specific,
Okay.
but he put in his decision that that was an unusual characteristic, which made the property unique within its setting, and he established that they could essentially use half of that as their setback.
Right.
So my assumption is that he's just, the individual involved has just taken it upon himself that he now owns it, would be my guess.
And using it as a setback is totally
Totally
different than
Yeah.
using it, and using it and preventing people from the right of way.
Exactly.
Is totally wrong.
All right, let me clarify, let me understand that a little better. You can clap for me.
I always do.
So,
Morning, noon, and
so when
night.
you say the setback,
That's
they
how you
can't,
wake up in the morning.
when you say the setback in so many feet, that means they can walk on it and whatever, but not put stuff on.
No, setback is the property boundary
Okay,
to
it's
the
here.
structure. Right, and he only had, or in that case, they had 12 feet, I think, and he made it 20. And the judge determined that because right here is a town-owned drainage soil, that should have been considered as part of the setback.
In case he wants to put a shed up or something, he can
Which in
use
that
part
case,
of that
that's what
as
it
his
was.
setback.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was part of the carport.
So that's totally different, yeah. That's-
Yeah.
yeah. All right, you make a
Anything
lot
else?
of people happy, because that,
It's gonna happen now.
We have a motion, what do we need now?
It's gonna happen.
you wanna have a party there when we do it?
Oh, Jeepers Creepers got her all prepared for her
The
update.
second week in a row, you just bypassed.
No, I didn't. What happened?
Last time I asked her, we
Yes,
weren't
we
ready.
went to Nonpublic today. I'll make it really quick.
Well, you have it, right, and he doesn't ask. Isn't that unbelievable? And he asks and puts under the gun 2 meetings before that. And then you're all ready for it.
Real quick, so we met with the team, I guess, a couple weeks ago, right after the other meeting, to discuss the new fire station. So the update there is, we're just waiting on the contract from Gordon, or
Laurie, go
from.
like this as a mosquito.
Oh,
You got
Thank
it.
you. I don't.
See ya?
Triple E.
I didn't want him crawling in your hair and biting
Thank you,
you.
I appreciate that. So we're waiting on the contract from our architect for Gordon Services there, and then also the foundation plan, because the board would like to start a little bit sooner, so once we get the foundation plan, they can get started on that. The details of the floor plan are being ironed out, and we're awaiting the final design. So that's that. The bond, we just went through the loan application for the town in the amount of $2,500,000 for 30 years has been approved, subject to no adverse changes in our financial position. The loan agreement is in process. We did that tonight. Loan agreement includes an estimated maximum interest rate, which was set well above the current market, as we need to allow for the actual interest rate to be less than the maximum rate. So it was set a little bit higher, so hopefully it will come down from there. And the grant application, which we just signed off on, that will be submitted tomorrow. So hopefully we get that. I'm sure you've all seen the posting for the North Winchester road work. So we contracted with J. Evans Construction out of Brattleboro, Vermont, to serve as the general contractor for that project. And reconstruct the streets and sidewalks on North Winchester Street and Route 10 to California Street, and California Street to Route 10 to Main Street. A little bit confusing there. Construction is scheduled to take place this summer, with the first phase beginning on North Winchester Street on the 2nd, so it already started this week. And North Winchester Street will be closed to through traffic at times for most of June and July. The Carpenter home, so we received a list of maintenance issues from the tenant there, and DPW Director Joe, Selectman Tempesta, and I visited the property, and there are some maintenance jobs that need some attention. So we are going to schedule that to be on the agenda for next week. We can discuss that. The administrative position that's open, the full-time administrative assistant position, as of today, we have 9 applicants, and we will begin the interview process on Friday, June 6th. And then I just had a little welfare update. We're in the process of updating the town's welfare guidelines right now. It's been very, very busy over the last couple weeks. It's putting obviously a strain on our budget, but also a strain on the employees as well. It's a lot.
Let's see,
I'd like to say that's it, but that's all I have written down. But we've done a lot more.
In addition, there's other things that can be expanded on that, for the fire station that's coming to the planning board next week. The filing for the FAA 7460, that was filed last week, so that process is starting. That's 30 to 60 days. Carpenter Home, we're going to be meeting with them to discuss the process moving forward. That's just to embellish what you said in regard to that. So my expectation is that we'll have a decision and determination by our first meeting in July. And then the last would be to ask you if you could start the process and educate us on the investigation of renaming California Street to Main Street, coming from Route 10. Because if it's something we can pursue, it does require some public hearings.
Don't you just let Google know?
Yeah, Google tell you to go left or right.
California Street.
Yeah, because California Street's both on the east side and the west side.
So they want to be
I'm
Main
sure
Street.
about 10 residents are going to be very upset.
Well, that's why there's a public hearing. Doesn't mean that we do it. You won't be upset when the ambulance goes to the right place.
What's the
FYI,
west side, the west side?
East side.
East side.
That's what you want to rename the east side.
At least look into the process.
FYI, the Conservation Committee has no issues with the fire station.
Awesome.
That's all I got.
It's a lot. You've done well. The fire hose is starting to dwindle a little bit. All right, I guess we'll go into non-public unless somebody has anything else. All right, Garrett, what are we going under? What are we going under?
Good.